So now what about running a third-party application to automate the fabric using the DCNM RESTful APIs? Remember from the gear icon from the top right of your DCNM Windows, you can call the REST API tool. As a result, the API inspector windows will pop up, but empty at the very beginning. Now, for any action you run with the DCNM user interface, the API inspector displays the REST API calls used by DCNM. All API calls, get, post, delete, etc. are listed in this windows. You may result many entries, so you need to be cautious when you need to identify the API calls associated to your intent. You can explore inside the API calls of interest and expand it. Now you can select the prettify output options. And that's what you need to capture, the prettify output, and pass it into your preferred API management applications. And that's all you need to know to become the expert of programming a fabric using the REST API. Now let's take a real use case. You are the network manager and you have been asked to deploy 100 networks across several nodes, several interfaces. You know you can do this with DCNM user interface, and we have seen this in the module number 2. The DCNM user interface is very easy to use to deploy a network across leaf nodes and interface. It's just a series of click, 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 right? But the guy asks you to deploy all this network for now, and you want to go faster than doing 100 times click, click, click. So you think that the best option to deploy hundreds of network is to use the API management tools. However, you have zero experience with such programming tools. How to create multiple networks with a single push button. How to attach all networks and interfaces to all concerned switches in one actions. And finally, you need to deploy all these networks. The best is to look at the demo. So if you want to impress your boss, you can reproduce this easy. Believe me, I'm not an expert of programming. This video demonstrates how to leverage the API inspector tools from DCNM to automate any NXOS configuration using DCNM REST API calls. The goal here is to create 10 new networks and to deploy them automatically to a pair of switches. Firstly, you need to start the REST API tools. The API inspector windows pop-ups in your screen. You will immediately notice that as soon as you walk through the DCNM GUI, the API inspector will log all API calls. The reason for that is that DCNM uses the REST APIs to get and push the configurations toward the switches. The idea here is to record an API call pushed by DCNM to duplicate it afterwards. And then you need to clear the windows when you are ready to record the API call. First is to create the network with the basic setups, the VLANs, the tenant, the default gateways, etc. So then back to the API inspector, you can filter to retrieve the post commands, and from there you select the prettify output to show the JSON script used to create that network. You need to copy the prettify output. And paste it into your preferred editor. Now you can replace the parameters you want to duplicate with variables, and these variables will be reused afterwards. You copy your script with the new variables, and then you can use your preferred API management applications, right? Here I'm using Postman. In the body, you select the row format, and you pass the previous script into your JSON tab. I'm not a programmer, right? So this is the first time I use it. So the JSON script from your network being created, you need to attach now the network to the devices and interfaces. So you can use again the DCNM GUI to get your reference configurations to create afterwards your new template, second template. Now you can repeat what you did previously and select the post you just did and go to the Prettify output and select the script. Now you can paste it into your editor. So now replace the parameters of interest with the new variables. Copy the script. And now you create a CVS file with all the variables and all the values you need to push afterwards. In this example, you create 10 new networks with the network ID, the default gateways, etc. But you can add hundreds of lines if you wish, right? So now save the CVS file. Back to Postman, you add a new request and you paste your last JSON script. You can see the two serial numbers used to push the configurations to the switch of interest and the interface numbers. All of this can be replaced by additional variables if you wish, right? So just make it simple, or you can make everything based on variables if you want. After your requests have been created, you call the runner program from Postman to execute your script. From the runner, you need to select the CVS file. You need to import it with all the values associated to your variables. You can preview and check the variables are associated with the expected values, and you run it. It will run your scripts as many times as you added lines in your CVS file. As you can see, there are 10 iterations for the 10 networks. And when attached, you can ask to deploy the configurations afterwards to the two switches. And you can see the status returned code being 200 successful. Return to DCNM and do a refresh. As a result, all the 10 networks have been deployed. Now you can select the networks and check that they have been deployed as expected to the leaf nodes 3 and 4, as well as through the interfaces E1/17 to E1/19. As simple as it looks like. Thank you for watching. So we have seen that DCNM uses RESTful APIs to render its graphical user interface, performing all operations. And you have an embedded API tools. This is the API inspector that you can leverage from DCNM for your preferred REST API tool. You can operate your fabric either using the DCNM graphical user interface or using the integrated Swagger to allow you to program your fabric using the DCNM REST API, all prepackaged for you. So you don't need any external API management tools. It's all embedded into DCNM. But if you wish to use a third-party application to manage your fabric, then you can leverage the centralized RESTful API that DCNM offers to you. So this last section concludes the module number 5, and let's move to the next one, the daily operations. Thank you.